You know, the people who get scammed aren't gullible. They're not elderly. They're not tech illiterate. In a lot of cases, they're exactly the type of person who would tell you confidently that they'd never fall for it. Security engineers, professors, doctors, people who've worked in tech for 20 years. And the reason they clicked? It had almost nothing to do with intelligence. It had everything to do with design. Today, we're going to look at phishing scams the same way we looked at supermarkets. Not as moral failures or con tricks, but as designed systems, built deliberately, tested relentlessly, optimized to exploit the exact same cognitive shortcuts that every good designer uses. A modern phishing email, a vishing phone call, a smishing text, a fake Microsoft support pop-up, a cloned bank login page. What is that, really? It's a user interface. It has a layout, a color palette, a hierarchy of information, a call to action. And it was made by someone who understood, either intuitively or through study, how humans process visual information under stress. The first mechanism is urgency and scarcity framing. Your account will be suspended in 24 hours. Immediate action required. Your device has been compromised. What that framing does isn't just create stress, it narrows your attention. When you feel like you're in a time-pressured situation, your brain literally reduces the range of information it's processing. You're not reading carefully anymore. You're scanning for the action button. And that's exactly where the scammer wants your eyes. The second mechanism is authority signaling. Legitimate institutions, Apple, your bank, the IRS, Microsoft, have spent enormous resources building visual identity. Scammers clone that visual language, and they don't need to be perfect. They need to be close enough that your pattern recognition fires before your critical analysis kicks in. The brain sees "looks like Apple" and routes it into the probably trustworthy category before you've read a single word.
The third mechanism is cognitive load exploitation. Your capacity for careful, deliberate thinking is finite. Some spear phishing attacks are specifically designed to land when you're already overwhelmed. A fake shipping notification when you actually are waiting for a package. A fake bank alert right after a large purchase. The design of the attack overlaps just enough with your actual life that your brain fills in the gaps with what it expects to see, rather than what's actually there. The fourth mechanism is social proof manipulation. Your colleague has shared a file with you. 3 of your contacts have already verified their accounts. Psychologist Robert Cialdini identified social proof as one of the core principles of persuasion. Fake social proof short-circuits that instinct, and because it's embedded in a designed interface, it carries more visual weight.
There's another psychological principle that helps explain why phishing attacks can be so effective, even when the warning signs seem obvious in hindsight. Context is everything. Human beings do not evaluate every piece of information from scratch. If we did, daily life would be impossible. Instead, our brains constantly use shortcuts to determine what deserves attention and what can be safely ignored. Most of the time, these shortcuts are incredibly useful. When you receive a message from a friend, you don't perform a forensic investigation before opening it. When your bank sends a routine notification, you don't analyze every pixel of the interface. When a package delivery service sends an update, you usually assume it's legitimate because similar messages have been legitimate in the past. This tendency is known as heuristic processing. Rather than carefully evaluating every detail, the brain relies on familiar patterns and previous experiences to make rapid judgments. Scammers understand this remarkably well. In many cases, they don't try to create something completely convincing. They simply try to create something familiar enough. Consider how many digital notifications the average person receives every day. Emails, text messages, calendar alerts, password reset requests, shipping updates, bank notifications, work messages, social media alerts. Most of these interactions happen in seconds. You glance at a message, recognize the source, take action, move on.
That speed is exactly what attackers exploit. The faster a person normally processes information, the less likely they are to notice subtle inconsistencies. A phishing email doesn't need to survive 10 minutes of careful examination. It only needs to survive 3 seconds of automatic recognition. That's a much easier challenge. What's particularly fascinating is that successful phishing attacks often mirror legitimate user experience design principles. Good UX designers want interfaces that feel familiar, predictable, easy to navigate, easy to understand. Scammers want exactly the same thing. The difference is the objective. A legitimate designer wants users to accomplish a real task efficiently. A scammer wants users to complete a harmful action before they start thinking critically. Both rely on reducing friction. Both rely on recognizable patterns. Both rely on visual familiarity. The ethical difference is enormous. The design techniques can sometimes look surprisingly similar. This is one reason phishing attacks continue to evolve. As digital products become more polished, scam interfaces become more polished as well. As users become familiar with security warnings, scammers adapt those warnings into their own fake messages. As companies improve authentication systems, attackers modify their designs to imitate those systems. It's an ongoing arms race between trust and deception. Another factor that often goes unnoticed is emotional timing. The most effective scams rarely arrive at random moments. They arrive when the message is likely to feel personally relevant. During tax season, fake tax notifications increase. During major shopping periods, fake delivery messages become more common. After major data breaches make headlines, fake security alerts often surge. The attack succeeds because the message fits the surrounding environment. Your brain already expects to see something similar. And when expectation and appearance align, skepticism naturally decreases. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as confirmation bias. We tend to notice information that supports what we already expect to be true. If you're waiting for a package, a shipping notification feels normal. If you're expecting an invoice email feels normal. If you're concerned about account security, a security warning feels normal. The scam doesn't create a completely new story. It inserts itself into a story that already exists in your mind. That's what makes these attacks so dangerous. They don't fight against the way humans think, they work with it. And that's why intelligence alone isn't always enough protection. The problem isn't that people fail to think. The problem is that they often don't realize a situation requires extra thinking in the first place. Here's where it gets really interesting. A lot of what scammers use isn't some exotic psychological manipulation. It's a darker version of patterns that exist all over legitimate product design. UX researcher Harry Brignall calls these dark patterns, design choices intentionally built to confuse, pressure, or mislead users. Scam interfaces are essentially dark patterns taken to their logical extreme. So why does this catch smart people? Overconfidence is a real factor. Research on the bias blind spot consistently shows that people who score higher on analytical thinking are not reliably better at recognizing when their own thinking is being manipulated. In some cases, they're worse because they're more confident they'd see it coming. If this is a design problem, then the defense is partly a design